I'm gonna be honest, guys, it's gonna be a long night for me because I'm recording this at like 3 in the morning. I don't even have a wristwatch yet. I somehow tell time with my skin. That's weird. Hello and welcome. I'm gonna be honest, when I woke up this morning at 12 o'clock, it's not really morning, but I woke up to watch the AMD event, and honestly, I wasn't really expecting very much. I had my hopes set really, really low. I was really like thinking that the 16900 XT was going to be our 3080 competitor. I was wrong. In fact, actually, I should have listened to myself from like a couple of weeks ago where I said that the 6800 XT would be the 3080 competitor, because I'm right, actually. So let's actually talk about what happened in this event. The short of it is AMD is claiming that they are now competing with Nvidia head on, like pretty much dollar to dollar, performance to performance, SKU to SKU, they are going to be competing with Nvidia. Now, this is one of those things where, honestly, we kind of saw this coming a little bit. We saw some behavior out of Nvidia that seemed that they were a little scared of something. We saw some behaviors out of Nvidia that we didn't expect. Like, part of the reason that the 30 series launch was so exciting was because Nvidia did this huge jump forward. And one of the things that was sitting in the back of my mind was, why now? Like, Turing came out and Nvidia was like, it's expensive because it's expensive, because it's all a new tech in it. And then, you know, Ampere comes out and it's just like, nope, that's out the window. Here's this super powerful thing, this super powerful leap. A leap that, mind you, they probably could have done back in Turing, but they didn't. So I was cautious going into the launch of the 3080. I was like, I need to get one for this channel because I was going to review it for the channel, and I still am. But I'm kind of glad that I couldn't get a hold of one, because now that 6800 XT is looking a lot more appealing, like a lot more appealing. So AMD announced the 6800, the 6800 XT, and the 6900. Each GPU is actually meant to compete with a specific Nvidia GPU. So the 6800 competes with the 3070, the 6800 XT, the 3080, and the 6900 XT, the 3090. AMD is actually competing in all spectrums, which is kind of impressive. And they got the performance to match. All of their performance slides actually showed each of the GPUs outperforming the 2080 Ti, which is a feat that Nvidia themselves also touted. The 6800 is particularly interesting because it does seem to actually be a little bit faster, but we have to kind of take that with a grain of salt because AMD is using some special proprietary technology that is actually really exciting. So AMD is using a couple of different things that honestly will make a big difference in the everyday use of these GPUs. One of those things is Rage Mode, which is essentially a full tilt, all fans, go as hard as you want overclocking mode. Now, this mode is an automatic overclock, so it's not the same as manually tweaking it, but for the most part, Rage Mode actually seems like a good thing, as it will allow the GPUs to get a little bit of a boost. That, though, isn't really the exciting thing. No, the really exciting thing is AMD Smart Access Memory. Now, it doesn't have a catchy name like Rage Mode, but the way Smart Access Memory works is it allows AMD CPUs and GPUs to communicate effortlessly through Infinity Fabric, which, I'm gonna be real with you, is amazing. This is one of those things where, because now AMD has some of the fastest processors and one of the better platforms, with this plus the GPU, you're actually seeing up to 10%, I think actually up to 13% in some cases, where you're going to see improvement by just having this combination. Now, that being said, this is sort of there are some limits on your ability to use this feature. So one of them is you have to have a 5000 series processor and an X570 motherboard. So I'm sure the next generation processors will be perfectly fine as well. They've added ray tracing to all of their GPUs. They are achieving this by actually using the same cores for both processing and ray tracing. They can actually just switch over. So instead of Nvidia's approach of having specialized RT cores, AMD is having all multi-purpose cores and the ability to switch them, which I'm sure will actually net them worse ray tracing performance, but maybe better actual performance, if that makes sense. Like scalability is probably something that they'll hit pretty hard on. They are looking at a 50%, over a 50% performance per watt, which is the metric that even Nvidia pulled out. And it actually sounds very similar to the things that happened with Zen. So it's a pretty big jump. So that's pretty much all the new features. Of course, each card comes with PCIe 4.0. They're creating new versions of Radeon Boost and Fidelity FX and anti-lag, all to help these GPUs as much as possible. And I actually do have a video on Radeon Boost that I've decided to work on when I just started playing with it, because I was like, oh, this is actually much cooler than I thought it was. So those are all the really interesting features. Let's actually get into the GPUs themselves. I actually have some information about these GPUs that you probably haven't heard yet. And that's because by being last and 3 in the morning, I already got AMD's email that has a link to more information. And so I'm gonna tell you how big these cards are, because that's information I've got actually. So we're gonna start with the 6800. So the 6800 has 60 CUs. Its power delivery is actually a 2x8. It has a boost clock of 2105. Its RTs, of course, are the same as its normal compute units. The GPU power is at 250 watts. The recommended PSU for it is 650 watts. There is 128 megabytes of Infinity Cache. Infinity Cache is actually something that they've added into RDNA 2, which allows it to actually work similarly to the Zen processors. So that's awesome all around. Memory, 16 gigabytes of GDDR6. It is 267 millimeters, which is not that bad. That's actually a pretty reasonably sized card. And that one is actually a 2-slot GPU. That card will be launching November 18th at $579. So that puts it pretty much the same price as the RTX 3070. AMD in their slides for this one, though, did actually use both the Smart Access Memory and Rage Mode to give their numbers, so it's not necessarily known where this GPU will lie in the grand scheme of things. But of course, wait for independent reviews. But at that price, plus this performance, you're getting an upgrade no matter what from a 5700 XT. So that's kind of awesome. The 6800 XT, which is the one I'm more interested in though, has 72 compute units, again a 2x8 power, so it hasn't changed power delivery, a boost clock of 2250. Again, the CUs are the same as the ray tracing cores. This one moves up to a 300 watt card, and the recommended PSU for this one is 750 watts. That's, again, pretty reasonable. If you've built a new gaming PC in recent years, you probably have a 750 watt power supply, if not an 800 watt power supply. Infinity Cache is exactly the same, 128. Memory, again, exactly the same, 16 gigabytes. And the GPU length, again, 267 millimeters, meaning that the 6800 and the 6800 XT are the same size. This one, though, does get a chunkier cooler, and it becomes a 2.5 slot GPU. The 6800 XT comes in at $649. So $650 puts it cheaper than the 3080 by $50. It has a lower recommended power supply. And yeah, this one is trading blows according to AMD with the Nvidia GPUs. Now, again, we have to wait for independent testing, but even so, at $50 cheaper and trading blows, like, this is definitely a card to look out for. And then the last thing that they announced was the 6900 XT. Now this one's a bit of an anomaly because it's not something a lot of us expected. I expected a competitor with the 2080. I did not expect a 3080, and I did not expect a 3090 competitor. This one has 80 compute units. Again, it's a 2x8 power supply, power delivery, which again, pretty awesome that you can use exactly the same. The boost clock is the same as the 6800 XT, so 250 or 2250. RT core is exactly the same as the CUs because, well, we discussed that earlier. The GPU power is 300 watts. Recommended power supply is an 800 watt power supply for this one though. Infinity cache, again, 128. Memory, 16 gigabytes. The length of the card, exactly the same as the 6800 and the 6800 XT. And this one is also a 2.5 slot card, meaning, let's break this down really quickly and compare it to the competition. All of these GPUs come in thinner than the 3090. The 6900 XT is thinner than a 3090, shorter, I believe, than a 3090. They didn't do vertical height on here, but okay. Requires less power than a 3090 and is supposed to compete with a 3090. Now, that being said, what price point do you think AMD is going to be competing with the 3090 at? Well, they're going to be competing at $1,000. That's right, we have a $1,000 AMD GPU on our hands. And that one comes out December 18th. So, what do I think of this? Well, I think Nvidia did me a favor by not supplying enough 3080s. Because that 6800 XT looks real compelling, especially when I've got nothing but AM4 systems running right now. That is impressive. Like, honestly, I cannot wait for these GPUs. Now, that being said, we do have the issue of drivers, which we know for a fact that AMD has a pretty bad track record with day one drivers. We also don't know what ray tracing performance looks like on these GPUs. And I know these compute cores are not the same as CUDA cores, like they're not translatable. But the fact that each core does double duty is not necessarily a good thing, because you will predictably lose performance when enabling ray tracing. I mean, hypothetically, it could be up to half. I don't know how much AMD actually has going into this on that. Price-wise, I think they're very competitively priced. Like the 6900 XT in particular, like that thing's trading blows with the 3090. Of course, using all of AMD's technology behind it. So like it could be like it's only kind of able to compete with a 3090, but at like $500 less. Like at that point, it's going to force Nvidia to pull another card out. Like the 6900 XT is going to force Nvidia to pull out a 3080 Ti. Areas to consider, right? AMD is asking for less power than the Nvidia cards, which is shocking. Normally, AMD is worse than Nvidia at power efficiency. I think since Polaris, Nvidia has been better at power efficiency than AMD. So the fact that Ampere and Big Navi have effectively switched places is very, very similar to what happened to Intel like a couple generations ago, when all of a sudden AMD wasn't the one that was hot. And it looks like, interestingly enough, Nvidia has actually been pushed into the same situation that Intel was, where because they were the leader for so long, they got complacent. The 6800 XT competing with the 3080 is honestly probably what they thought was going to happen. Because if they just increased the memory, they would probably be able to compete a little bit. I don't think they were expecting AMD to pull out some like magic sauce technology that allows them to actually gain like extra performance on top of what they already got. I really didn't think that I would see it, honestly. I've been saying that they should do it for over 10 years. But the AMD Smart Access memory like is incredible. If it's as good as they say. So there's a lot of if it's as good as they say, but honestly, that's just my opinion with these things. I am excited. I'm excited for a couple of reasons, but it mainly boils down to this is competition in the GPU space that we haven't seen in a long time. Nvidia isn't trying to rip you off as hard as they usually are, which means AMD is providing at least something here. So honestly, let me know in the comment section. What do you guys think about this? Do you think this is going to be as exciting as it seems? Are you worried that the drivers are going to be absolute garbage? And let me know, do you plan on picking up a 6800 XT or a 3080? Yeah, that's what I really want to know. So thank you guys for watching. Wolfie